Welcome back. So we're starting with the nation. Adamawa wreck, others get bail. Declaring Binani not wrong. President-elect promises judicial reform. Judges' welfare a priority. House okays 1 trillion loan for federal government. 70% of private school teachers in Southwest unqualified. Reps condemn disruption of flights by labor. Osimhen delivers Siri a title to Napoli. Outburst on inauguration. Oneika comes under fire. Senior lawyers not clearing for questioning president-elect swearing in. Nothing will stop May 29. NDDC 6 reps approval for 2.28 trillion 3-year budget estimate. What stories do we have in the nation?
Okay, so I have the updates on the Adamawa wreck. We know the story, the one who declared Binani governor before the coalition was over. So we also know from last time I took the story that he had been arrested and is being investigated by the police. And we've heard that he has been allowed to go home on bail with 2 other INEC commissioners and also a few other officials that were being interrogated. But the bail is not without conditions, and the conditions are that they must deposit their travel passports, their movement is to be restricted within FCT. Also, a senator was said to have stood surety for Yunusa Ari. From the police end, they said that from their investigation, one of the basis of their investigation is, of course, why he, declared that, and also the allegation of bribery that may have occurred or did not happen. And then they said that there were also investigations based on some information they had received about dinners, nocturnal meetings, bribery scandals, and so many other things. But the police are saying that detectives are on ground. They're doing a thorough investigation of everyone that's involved, and they will let us know as this goes on. So all guilty parties will be brought to justice.
Okay. So I took the teacher's story. The Registrar Teachers Registration Council of Nigeria, TRCN, Professor Josiah Ajiboye, said that they are unqualified persons in the teaching profession, and those people are not teachers but cheaters. He said they don't only cheat the pupils and students, but also they cheat the system. He spoke yesterday in Abuja at the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding between the Council and Instill Education on bringing in new dynamics to the profession. And he said, contrary to speculations about the Southwest and its teachers of private schools, 70% have been discovered to not be qualified, and the unqualified teachers also lack the prerequisites to be registered by the council. So they had to do an expose on them, and they realized that most of the teachers in those private schools have not been exposed to any form of training, and even those that have been trained with outdated equipment for illustration. But I wanted to see what the plan is to get some of these teachers trained. I know that we have a lot of mushroom private schools that the poor can afford, and so sometimes you just finish secondary school and they say, oh yeah, come into the classroom
I
and
did
teach.
that.
Yes, a lot of them. I did that too at the time, and we're not qualified to be teachers when we did that. So the government needs to, set up a check those students. So even if some of those schools cannot afford to have qualified teachers in their private school because they cannot pay, those ones that are there who have volunteered to do the job should be given a form of training to just help them handle
so
those.
Minimum certification.
Because I know that we use coppers.
Yes.
So,
and they are
most
not
of them are not qualified.
So let me quickly take the story of the president-elect speaking at the commissioning of the magistrate court complex named after the chief judge of River State, Justice Iche Undu. The president-elect promised that his administration will be fair to all, but that there's going to be in the policy think tank, they are going to put in place good welfare for judges. He said that we must fight corruption, and we must definitely look at the other side of the coin. If you want judges to be, if you don't want us to be corrupt, you have to pay them well, give them good welfare. He also mentioned how to buy a car, a judge, if you don't have credit system, you will have to cough out 5-6 million in the minimum, and that many times the judges cannot afford it, and they will be looking towards corruption as a way to get the basic things. You said you cannot expect judges to live in squalor and their judiciary, they are giving judgments in squalor and expect them to be fair. So he's congratulating Wike for at least elevating the facility for judges to give their judgment, but he's promising a holistic look at
their welfare?
Judiciary reforms tilting towards the welfare of the judges. And looking forward to that.
Amazing. So let's move on now to the Punch. Federal roads, federal government pays states 859.7 billion in 8 years. Government agencies, military owes electricity firms, Senate. Reps raise Buhari's extra budgetary spending to 23.7 trillion. Again, military warns saboteurs, Gowon counsels petitioners. Threats to new president's inauguration will be promptly dealt with, says Defense Headquarters. Keyamo knocks Onaekon for saying Tinubu shouldn't be sworn in before tribunal verdict. Troops kill 40 insurgents, rescue 2 Chibok girls. 70% of Southwest private school teachers unqualified, TRCN. 25-year-old dredging firm worker drowns in Lagos River. Sudan, second batch of stranded Nigerians arrives today. So a member of staff of sand dredging company FC Energy in Ikorodu area of Lagos State, Alex Eboh, was on Monday drowned in the Ibeshe River while on duty. He said that the 25-year-old man slipped from one of the company's sand dredging ships and fell into the river. And efforts by the company to rescue the Benue State indigene did not yield, and he died before they could reach him. So what happened was he was working offshore, and then they wanted to move him onshore. And so while he was just about alighting the ship, he fell in. They said he had no protective gear with him, and before they realized it, he was dead. And so the company has spoken up, said that that was actually what happened to him, and they're going to be using international best practice to help probably his family and compensate him for the loss. The police itself is saying that they've not reported the matter to them, but they would investigate.
So sorry.
So
the federal government is said to have refunded 859.7 billion to various state governments as reimbursement for out-of-pocket expenditures that they incurred in constructing federal roads over these 8 years. This, they say, was disclosed during a fact sheet highlighting achievements of the Buhari administration. We also know that there have always been reports that state governments, when they say they do this federal government project on behalf of federal governments in their states, they find a way of inflating the figures. And the Minister for Works and Housing has directed states to desist from such interventions, and the federal government would not offset such expenses. We even have the Minister for Information and Culture, who has said that state governments would not get any refund. Even if you want to pay from your own pocket, you still need the permission of the federal government, and it will be supervised by the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing. We also have, so it shows that this is federal government stance, saying that we will not pay for any work done, on behalf of federal government. No more reimbursements will be made. Wow. But there's still reports to show that government has been making refunds to state governments. In 2020, about 5 states got 148 billion, and so on and so forth. But the Minister for Works and Housing is insisting that the government has stopped all refunds to states, and any state that works on any federal government road will do it at its own cost.
Is that a good way to? That's discouraging to states. They will leave those things on.
Projects undone, and we need it to alleviate. Each state needs to be able to.
But they're also talking of the fact that they're inflating figures.
Yes, and we've heard that several times.
But even if the federal government does it, they inflate figures, don't they? Everybody does pardon.
Yes, I was going to take the story of the troops and Chibok girls. Updates from the Theatre Commander Operation Hadinkai. That's Major General Ibrahim Ali has disclosed that to the newsmen in Maiduguri that they were able to get into the Sambisa forest, kill 40 insurgents and rescued 2 Chibok girls. So the update on Chibok girls, if you remember, since they've been in captivity since is it 2012? Okay, but they were able, let me read out those people that have been released so far. The terrorists themselves released 107 in 2018 out of the 125 that were captured. And they also mentioned that about 94 right now are still unaccounted for. Also mentioned the fact that in 2019, 3 were rescued. In 2021, 2 rescued. 2022, 11 rescued, and now 2, we can't call them girls, 2 women have been rescued. They are now 26 years old. Wow. These were girls. It happened in 2014. They are now 26 years old, and one of them has a child. Her name, she's been married, Esther has been married twice. She was married first to a Garba, alias Garus, who was killed by troops, and then remarried to another person while in captivity, and now she has a child, 1-year-old baby girl from that person. The second lady, Hawa, was captured, was rescued with 8 months pregnancy, and she has given birth while in custody to a child, a healthy baby boy, according to the reports, also a child of one of the terrorists. It's just so sad that...
I still hope to get this...
well, we all thought that after a long time of not hearing anything, that nothing will happen. But last year they rescued 11. Yeah. You know, now they've rescued 2. So we're hoping that as the military strengthens their takeover of their enclave in Sambisa Forest, we'll be seeing more and more girls. Our heart still goes out to the remaining 94 who are still in captivity, unaccounted for. We don't even know if they are still alive or just unaccounted for.
That's
so sad.
So the federal government has said that the cost of electricity consumption in Nigeria is among the cheapest and the most defaulted by consumers in the world. They have, checked this out, and they said electricity was highly subsidized in the country by the federal government, making it the cheapest across the globe. They did a comparative analysis between our neighboring countries, and they said the cost of electricity in Nigeria is, for example, is 15 cents per kilowatt, and it's 42 cents in Niger Republic, 23 cents in Republic of Benin, 25 cents in Mali, 28 cents in Senegal, 27 cents in Burkina Faso. And one of the reasons we are not able to pay, is the fact that a lot of government agencies are not paying their electricity bill at all. They called out Kaduna and Kanu, which they cut them out of the
removed from the grid.
Yes, recently, which they have also reconnected them, but they are giving them like a 60 days grace, or else they will take them out finally. And they are saying they will likely find a way to start deducting from source from the Ministry of Finance. I think that should just be the best thing. Government agencies cannot be owing. So that we'll have lights, Biko. Let's move on now to the Daily Sun. Returnee students recount ordeal in Sudan. We thought we'll die, they declare. Federal government promises 100,000 naira each to evacuees. President's inauguration before tribunal judgment makes no sense. Naiko. 1.6 million students to write 2023 WASC in 20,851 schools. NAFDAC bans promotion sale of breast milk substitute in health facilities. Wow. Arewa youths accuse NLC president of plotting against handover. It is ranting of politicians, says workers' body. Banking sector credit to private rises to 43 trillion in 3 months, CBN. Nigeria's unity non-negotiable, Tinubu. Vows to make corruption in judiciary unattractive. Troops kill 30 terrorists, apprehend 48 in north-central, northwest. What stories do we have?
NAFDAC, in collaboration with primary health care, they organized a session where, a training to talk about breast milk and also what is described as breast milk substitutes. So the desk officer, NAFDAC, said that, they're trying to discourage people from relying on the breast milk substitutes. I guess that's the formulas and everything that we use instead of breast milk. She says, first of all, breast milk is a high impact, low technology, cost-effective intervention for child survival and optimal cognitive development and sustainability. But that still the practice of breastfeeding is quite low. I was shocked because I would think that in Nigeria and Africa it would be very high. They said it's as low as 23%. Wow. And that exclusive breastfeeding stood at about 34%, And she's saying that one of the big reasons that people are not breastfeeding as much is because of the aggressive marketing for these breast milk substitutes. And they're doing it even within health facilities.
Wow.
And so they're trying to push, you know, the message that we should rely less on those and give breast milk. But I won't say, because I have a personal experience. When I had both my babies, the first 3 days, I don't have any milk. And I remember the hospitals were really reluctant to get me breast milk substitutes. If my mom wasn't there, I think my children would have been malnourished, something, you know, because they needed to be fed. And my mom, I remember my mom in conversation one, she was like, yes, we know it's not allowed, but do you want to leave the child hungry? So we got the milk, and then until 3 days later, I started lactating and I fed my children. Wow. So it's not the same measure for everyone. So
maybe the government is focusing more on private hospitals, because I know general hospitals don't, they do avoid introducing formula early, but private hospitals probably don't mind, so they should have. And it's cheaper to do breast milk. I don't understand. Let me take the WASC. So WAEC, the WAEC, West African Examination Council, yesterday disclosed that 1.6 million students will be writing the May-June 2023 exams, the WASC, across the country from Monday, 8th of May. They also mentioned that they gave this report, the head of the office in Yaba, Patrick Arega, gave this information, and he said that they'll be writing from a total of 20,851 schools. About 798,000 of them are male, amounting to 49.25% of candidates are male and 50.75% female. That I'm happy about, because, you know, we've always been concerned that we don't have enough, women don't tend to go into higher education, but this statistic is showing that even more women are actually, more female students are going to be writing the West African exams. So
that's
wish them best of luck.
Yeah, so the 376 stranded Nigerian returnees touched down the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, Wednesday night on board Air Peace Airline and Nigerian Air Force aircraft. We say congratulations to them. They said some of them had to leave their luggages behind to be able to board the aircraft. Then they went ahead to start narrating their experiences. They said they had lost hope of survival in Sudan. They also said that their conditions were really terrible and totally hard. Some of them were pregnant. They had pregnant women amongst them. They had to sleep in the car. Yes, wow. And he said they were treated like they were not human beings at all. At some points, they couldn't have anything to eat. They would even go into shops to take things, yes, from people. And they didn't know when this war started. They were sleeping one night and they just started hearing gunshots. And so, you know, it got to a point where said some of them were harassed sexually. There was no food, there was no water. Just very excruciating experiences. But they have promised to give each and every one of them 100,000 naira to settle them. And hopefully by the time things calm down in Sudan, they can now take them back to resume their studies. So that is where we are. Let's move on now to the Vanguard. Election disputes allow judiciary decide, go on, tells Atiku, Obi and others. Troops kill 79 terrorists in Northwest, rescue 136 abducted victims. Ekweremadu knows fate today. Apapa gridlock, PSTT truckers blame federal government. With gunfire all over, we thought we'd never see home again. Returnees tell tales of war. Okay, that's all we have in the Vanguard. Let me
take the Apapa gridlock, because like every time I go to, my parents live along that side in Malto, and it is a terrible experience. And now it is worse. What I call terrible is now worse, because the traffic now has built up from the Apapa outward into Mile 2 and beyond that. And the spokesperson, I want to be sure I'm getting the title right, the Port Standing Tax Team, an amalgamation of Container Truck Owners Association of Nigeria, have blamed the federal and Lagos state government for the persistent traffic situation in Tinkan towards Oshodi. And they said that it is the federal government that is causing the problem, that they need strict enforcement, that you said that nobody in trucks should back out, but one of the major culprits is the tanker. Nobody is regulating them. They think they can do anything they want with impunity. The Lagos state government have a role to play, but they have abandoned their duties on the road because the agencies, including police and LASTMA, and everybody are under the control of the Lagos government, are not functioning within that area, which I saw for myself that you will not see any presence of these people there. So if we've already put a system in place, their own is, once we've put system in place, we should follow through because we see results when everybody does their job. So when people hands off, it becomes chaotic again. Not rocket science now.
Yes, I have this story, an update. We remember Chidinma Ojukwu, the alleged murder suspect of Super TV chief executive Usifo Ataga. So they're still in court, and the update is that her lawyer was trying to say that her confessions were gotten out of out of duress, right? And but the court has said, having listened to both sides, they are convinced that she voluntarily gave her own side of the story. They said that there were videos to show the interrogation of Chidinma by the police, and also, the questions she was asked. There was no form of violence or intimidation in the videos, and even the way the person who was asking her questions sounded, it didn't come across as intimidating. So her statements will be used in the continuation of this.
It's not disqualified. Yes. Okay, thank you so much, ladies. That's all we can take on the newspaper reviews. When we come back, we move on to our hot topics. Stay with us.